Hello beautiful people. In this video, I'm going to share with you a list of words that I wish I knew when I was starting in the world of triathlon. Starting with the race distances themselves, there are four major ones you need to know. The biggest being an Ironman. It's a 2.4 mile swim, a 112 mile bike ride, and a full marathon to cap it off with a 26.2 mile run. The second largest is a half Ironman, which is half of a distance of a full Ironman. It's a 1.2 mile swim, a 56 mile bike ride, and a half marathon or 13.1 mile run. An Olympic distance is roughly half of a half Ironman or a quarter of a full Ironman. It is a 0.9 mile swim, a 24-25 mile bike ride, and then it caps off with a 10K or a 6.2 mile run. The smallest distance triathlon that most people start with is what we call a sprint triathlon. It's roughly a quarter mile swim, a 12 to 18 mile bike ride, and it ends with a 5K, which is a 3.1 mile run. There are also distances that are shorter or smaller than a sprint, and there are also distances that are larger, more intense than an Ironman. Your base, it's the starting point or the foundation of fitness on which you're able to then build up speed and endurance from. The brick workout is a combination workout of two disciplines of triathlon back to back. Traditionally, this is a bike to run, but you can also make it a swim to bike if you'd like. The purpose is to make sure you're training your muscles to understand, and so you can feel the effects of what it would be like on race day when you're going from the swim to the bike to the run back to back, so your muscles don't get all confused and stop working on you. Tapering is when you slow down the frequency and the intensity of your workout in the weeks leading up to your actual race day to make sure you're able to perform the best. To make sure you're able to perform the best possible, and so your legs and body are fresh on race day. Anaerobic is usually the initial phase of exercise where the sugars are being processed without the use of oxygen. Or you can think of this also as like a sprint, or whether you're trying to push yourself really hard in a swim or a bike. It's usually that really short burst of energy is anaerobic versus aerobic, which is the same process of breaking down the sugars in your body, but it's with oxygen. Those are usually longer distance exercises, more like those long runs, those long bike rides, or even like a long practice swim. Interval training is a workout of your cardiovascular system. When you're training, whether it be you're swimming, biking, or running, you're going to be sprinting or at really high intensity levels for a short period of time, followed by other levels of low intensity, and you're going to be alternating that between sprinting and jogging. Aerobars are handlebars for your bike to help put you in a more aerodynamic position. Typically they're facing forward and they have little pads to put your elbows and potentially even have shifters on the ends of the aerobars themselves. I wouldn't necessarily recommend riding in groups with them though, because it's a little bit more dangerous to turn and other people might not feel comfortable with somebody wearing aerobars in their group. Drafting is the process by which one athlete follows directly behind the other athlete, and it's where the drafting athlete is actually able to gain an advantage by going the same speed as the person leading, but doing a lot less than work than the person leading. By roughly 20% on the bike, I think it's like 1 to 3% on the run, and about 5 to 10% easier for the drafting athlete to go the same speed as the leading athlete on the swim. There are some draft legal races and some draft illegal races, so something to consider when you're signing up for your first triathlon. Splits are simply the time it takes you to complete a portion of your race or workout, and that's up to you. It might be a mile split, or it might be a half mile split, it could be a quarter mile split. If you're running a 5K, you might want to take the splits of each of your miles, and the goal is to have what we call negative splits, meaning each preceding mile is faster and takes less time than the one you just ran before it. And if your second mile is hopefully faster than your first mile, but slower than your third mile, your pace is getting faster, the time it takes you is less, so negative splits. When the race doesn't start in mass or all together, they'll be broken up into what we call waves. And so wave start are typically for each age group is let out at a different time, or it can be collegiate or versus pro are let out at all different times, and they'll have like a roughly 1 to 5 minutes in between each wave to split up the start of the race. In addition to being released in waves in your own age group or collegiate or professional wave, you might also opt into what we call Athena, which is a category for females who are racing that are above 165 pounds, or Clydesdales, who are males who weigh over 220 pounds. Both of those categories are completely optional and will be let out in a separate wave start of a race. Here are some acronyms you need to know. OWS is open water swim. That means getting out of the pool and going into a really large lake or even the ocean. A PR is your personal record, and it might also be called a PB, which is a personal best. It's basically the fastest you've ever raced that certain distance or run that certain time frame. T1 is your first transition from your swim to your bike, whereas T2 is your second transition from your bike to your run. The USAT is like our own national governing body of triathlons in the US, similar to like an NBA or NFL. Now the 5 Ds of triathlon. There's DQ, disqualified, not Dairy Queen. There's DNS, which is did not start. There's DNR, did not race. DNF, did not finish. And I'll end the video with one of my personal favorites, DFL, dead fucking last. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. And next time you're having a conversation with another fellow triathlete or just somebody you want to impress, I hope you're able to use a couple of the words that we have eloquently described for you today. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your week.